Hey, yo, Nwasha be doing that stuff too while we be filming. She be fondling me underneath the table.
Look at her face.
She's like, bruh.
See, and now we're live. We're live. Now we're live.
Hold on. I'm getting a delay. Hold on 1 second. I'm getting a.
Is it from there?
No, it's nothing over there. I'm moving everything over here. Hold on. Yeah.
Is there another microphone on?
Oh, nope.
That sounds better there.
It's the only mic. All right, can you still hear us?
Yes.
So now we're good. All that tickling.
Yeah. So please, I hope nobody heard that backstory.
Yes, everybody heard it. Thank you. That's how we're kicking it off.
Yes. So greetings, Niakoma. Welcome everyone to another edition of the Acoma House Initiative Soulmate Stories. In the Soulmate Stories, we just try to highlight everyday exceptional Black love couples and just really look at how they're doing, what they're doing, how they're making it work, because it's hard making Black love work under the white snow. And so we have to really learn from those who are doing it, because if we can normalize what some people are doing, then it will add to our love toolkit. So today we have our dear brother and sister who I know for like 99% of you, they need no introduction, but we love them and we want to introduce them properly, because they are not just an everyday couple, they are an exceptional couple at that as well. So, Nwasha, you want to start off?
Sure. So let me start off with the beautiful S.O.U.L.MATE Shah. So I'm just going to read a little bit of her bio and we'll take it from there with the Soul Mate strategy.
Yes.
So S.O.U.L.MATE Shah is the temple guide of the goddess temple of love and the creatrix of Devi Tribe Wellness. She's dedicated to raising the vibration of love on the planet through awakening the goddess within every woman. She's a trusted, loving, highly skilled priestess and guide for many women. S.O.U.L.MATE is a 300-hour certified Jivak Mukti yoga teacher, 500-hour certified Hatha yoga teacher, 250-hour certified mystical dance teacher, tantric yogini initiated into living goddess tradition of Paratan in Shakti yoga, sound healer, Kemetic yoga practitioner, womb sauna practitioner, a black belt in Kung Fu, Reiki master, clinical herbalist, Ayurveda wellness practitioner, sacred medicine woman wellness coach, belly dancer, birth doula, inner Shakti prenatal yoga teacher, red tent facilitator, Taoist jade temple initiate, ordained priestess, and she has a certification in plant-based nutrition from the T. Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies. And of course, she's also a Billboard award-winning hip-hop artist who left the music industry to answer a spiritual calling.
Damn.
And that's
probably
like really 100,000 hours, right?
Yeah. Damn.
I'm like, I'm tired.
When you got an intro like that, you could only be with a God, and appropriately so, my brother. Before I read this bio that can never do this legend any justice, although it's very impressive. This the man who put the enemy in Public Enemy. This is who this is, right? So we all know that Public Enemy is the legendary Grammy Award-winning Rock and Roll Hall of Fame group, but this is the person that put the enemy in Public Enemy. So Professor Griff is an internationally renowned educator, a writer, a producer, a musician, platinum recording spoken word artist, lecturer, and founding member of the pioneer revolutionary hip hop group Public Enemy, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame artist and Grammy recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award, author of the popular music business guide, Music Business, RIP, the resource information publication. Griff stands as a highly acclaimed seasoned entertainment industry veteran and sought after resource on all aspects of the music business, an activist within both the conscious and hip hop communities. And I want to say that you have been a culturally conscious leader to a generation. I'm 51 years old. I heard Chuck D many years ago, and he sound like a preacher rapper. He sound like somebody's dad or something preaching. But bro, when I saw you in the S1Ws, it was such a visually inspirational seed that was planted in the minds of a global generation. And I've told you several times when we've been together, around this time, ironically, we would see each other every year around this time. We would be together in Philadelphia. But our love for you, bro, not just because you planted that seed, but unlike many who, dissipated with the distillery of the fad or the era, you have not only maintained, but you've grown even more in terms of leadership, of leading a culturally conscious generation around not just the music business, but how to move through life at a high level of attention and eyes with all eyes on you, with an uncompromising message. From many things that I've seen over the last several years, the Nick Cannon thing, just so many things. There is very few people that we could point to and say that message has never wavered, it has never changed, it has been consistent. And so for me, I had said to you a few years back, I was like, yo, bro, take this book. I gave you the COVID book. He was like, I was like, yo, bro, you on a mountain. I just want to see you with that divine reflection. So this is so long coming, this conversation. We wanted to have y'all, things didn't work out in terms of timing. We definitely wanted to have y'all for the 20th anniversary of Akoma Day, where we had all the other couples highlighted, but everything happens in divine order because y'all are definitely worthy of so many things. And we got so many things to work on in the future. But today, we want to welcome y'all. We want to salute y'all. And we want y'all to give us the benefit of this story that I follow both of y'all. And I've never really heard either one of y'all really go into that I've heard in a public space. So maybe I missed it if you have done it. But we want y'all to sit back and relax. Y'all in good hands. And everybody's listening. They want to know and learn and understand how this beautiful union came to be. So we're going to jump in.
So we're still doing soulmate stories because we really did it to kick off not being able to get together for Akoma Day. This was like the first year where we couldn't even get a space. Everything was shut down. And when we said, hey, Akoma Day, 7 days, we're going to talk to someone and just talk about their soulmate story. Afterwards, people were like, wow, this is amazing. And I think even people who participated don't get a chance to reflect on their story in this kind of like, what is the destiny, as I'm looking at how we came in contact with each other and all the things that even needed to happen in order for us to be in this space to meet, to connect, and to grow. And we don't see enough, I don't think, we don't see enough of couples talking about real love from the point where it is attractive to other people, to make them say that, yes, this is what I want to do. Find my divine partner, find my soulmate. We use these words, but it's almost like a fairy tale. It's almost like the unicorn. If you see somebody who's happy, you're like, I'm doubting it. I'm
Yeah,
doubting.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we just always love to have people from their own words, you know, be able to tell their soulmate story in this reflective kind of symbolic way to help inspire other people, and not from a place of being fake or phony or having pretense, but just like real life, you know, is inspirational.
Right.
Real. We even in these social media type of climates, you know, where it can be some posturing and, you know, it can be some curating, it still is an amazing opportunity for us to connect. Even now, we're not in the same room, you know, we're potentially putting this conversation out for other people to be inspired who might not have even met any of us actually in person, right? And I think that these are the things that we really need to be able to use social media for, you know, like if we have any kind of influence or any kind of something we can kick off to have a ripple effect, it may as well be one of character development, of real love, and of just real life. So we always start out asking you, the couple, to tell us, how did you actually meet?
I think in that music kind of industry environment, I think both of us being pulled into that, however we were pulled into it, maybe it was a desire of hers to get a record deal, and mine was something totally to the left and way different, because I didn't go after it. It called me. That was the space I needed to be in to do the work I needed to do. Not even knowing that that's the space I would be in.
Right.
And I think we met in that environment. But we have to kind of let people know just from the rip. How old were you then?
15.
15.
Yeah, we met in 1989.
Right.
Yeah.
So if she was 15, I was 28. Not what people think it was.
Right. It was not we met and dated.
But even that is amazing, right? So when we talk about soulmates, sometimes in the traditional sense, we're talking about indigenous culture when we talk about the science of soulmating and even creating a Komide. Soulmates are a divine connection, a spiritual connection, and traditionally met even as children before entering into a relationship. There's a life path that you bump into each other, you cross. Sometimes you might actually bump into each other multiple times and then, you know, have your relationship. But it's still this, like you were saying, this divine order of what even calls you into a sphere where when you meet, you might not think anything of it. But when you look back, a lot of times,
you see the synchronicity.
Yeah, you're able to reflect. You're like, yeah, this is what called me. This is what called you. And even if it's different, we were called, right? So as we hit these kind of like, you know, circles of influence that seem so personal, reflecting, we see this divine path that had I not been called and not been at this particular event, things that seem so circumstantial to us, when we're in the middle of it, even when it's amazing and profound, like you're at the top of your industry and you're, you know, being able to perform or have a lot of attention and even meet thousands and thousands of people. What are the odds that even what seems like chance, right, or seems like just a meeting would develop or blossom into, you know, something more?
But I think the mindset that begins to understand the 15-year-old and the 28-year-old meeting is a very dangerous kind of subject to have, because how many times I had to check people in a violent way. I'm like, you out your rabbit ass mind. It's like, no, I was 28, a grown ass man doing grown man work.
Right.
It's a 15-year-old. So come on, stop that. So the mind that, and I'm glad we're on to even express and explain that. And I love the way you put it, sis. That was beautiful, because that was the environment.
I mean, the way you describe it encapsulates what actually happened, and we know that. But as he said, he has to be clear, because people like to take things and run with them because that's more salacious, that's more interesting than what actually happened. And so the paths that we were on, yes, within music, I was 15 years old trying to get a record deal in a group with my best friend, and he was at the height of Public Enemy's, you know, where they're coming up and making the impact that they made in music. and we looked up to and revered them and their message and what they were doing. And so we actually were introduced to them through people through the radio station in Kansas City,
Right.
where they were performing, because we were known there for performing and on that talent show circuit in the community and doing doing hip hop at that time, since I was 13, but I have been rapping since I was 6. But so we met, introduced, and exactly what you said. For him, he's looking at this little girl. What are you doing here?
Right.
Where's your parents? How old are you? And what are you trying to do? And I'm like, please listen to my demo. We're trying to pass along a demo. But when I always tell everyone, when we met though, and I saw him, and you see the picture we took, I still have the picture we took the first day we met, and we look like we've known each other forever. When I saw him in person, there was something, it was this quickening, which at 15, I didn't know what it was. It was just like, I felt like I knew him. I felt like we known each other forever. And so from that moment, he became my brother. Somebody's ringing the doorbell. Maybe it's a package.
Yeah.
You can check the ring in a second. But I felt like I knew him, and I called him my brother from that day forward.
Right.
So we were brother and sister from that day forward. He became one who would, through the years, check in to make sure we were doing okay. Me and my best friend, what was going on in the industry. He was a protector of not only our people and community, but especially of women. And so if he had looked at me in any other way other than the protector, and we knew there was something there, as far as we know each other, this is familiar. But if he had, we wouldn't be together today.
Right.
One, because there would have been no respect for a grown man, trying to date a 15-year-old. And at the time that we did connect and begin our journey down this path of being divine consorts, if we hadn't met in 1989, this wouldn't have happened, because of where he was at in his life and what he's gone through. He wouldn't have been able to trust to bring me in that way. So there was a lot of different synchronicities that happened, and that were divinely orchestrated for us to be where we are today.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. That's definitely in a divine alignment with the ancient understanding of soulmates. That story is encoded in the Jack and Jill fairy tale, how they go up a hill, but in soulmate stories, they always meet at a younger phase in their life before their actual intimate relationship. And you guys got, 13 years? We work with a lot of, so we got 7 years difference. And we probably different than y'all in that the one thing we can't come to agreement on is that the music from her era is just whack, right? so we have this, or we both love music incredibly, right? And so I'll be like, now she loves international music. She's lived around the world and she's been different places. So when she bring that, I'm all the way in. But when she start playing the hip hop and the other stuff that she grew up on versus what I grew up on, I don't think she got no Public Enemy albums. I got them all. You know what I'm saying? Like you know what I'm saying? So it'd be like, that's what you playing, so that's funny. But we work with a lot of
hold on. I gotta stop you. Two things. She introduced me to, not really introduced me, but reminded me and brought me back around to global music,
right?
And to appreciate it. Now that I'm a much more balanced individual. But we had a battle. Remember the battle we had?
Wait, we had a couple.
I'm talking about that main battle, that first one. We were driving from New York.
Yeah, we was driving
driving
to DC.
Back to DC. And we just went back and forth. Okay, well, check this out. But nah, that one can't get this one. Blah, blah,
Like
blah.
we DJ battling in the car.
Right.
It was a karaoke DJ battle in the car. I think I won though.
Oh, yeah.
But it was eye-opening because it's like, oh, okay, you want to go there.
Right,
All
right.
right, so let me show you the other side of Professor Griff. Check this out.
Right.
We really agree on music a lot. I mean, we really have a real strong, it is, even with 13 years difference, we have a real similar taste in music. Mine probably does kind of go, no, we both go far in other directions in different ways. We do have a real similar,
I think
especially in
right,
hip hop. Like
right.
in hip hop, we pretty much 100% on board.
Right.
And the same taste as far as hip hop, and then even like super old school music, because it may have been, you know, it's a 13-year difference, so it may be some music that he was his, you know, like the music that's your time is
Right.
your mid-teens going up into
Right.
your 15s, like that's the music of your time. So his is different from mine, but it was that music was still in my household because of my mother. So it was infused in me from that. So I have a different special place for it than he has, if that makes sense.
Right.
And then
he was growing up on it, he was living in it.
Right.
Exactly.
And then I also think, like, for example, one time, I think it's the timing sometimes with me. I'm not a moody person,
yes,
but if I'm doing 95% of the driving, I don't want to hear no damn Keith Sweat in the middle of the day, man.
I'm in the car jamming. I'm playing Switch and
I'm driving.
And I'm like, bro, I'm about to fall asleep.
I'm like,
no lovey-dovey mood. I'm trying
to. I'm like, yo, put on some Onyx or some MOP because I got to be DMX. I'm like, yo, you understand what I'm saying? I'm like, nah.
We listen to Charlie. Well, we don't listen to Cat Band. Like
at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Earth, Wind and Fire. He's like,
we just finished eating vegan tacos and shit. I'm like, no, I'm not trying to hear that.
Yo, I always go to the early
R&B.
I go to the early 80s R&B to just put Nwasha in a coma. Like the song that we be bugging off of right now is Computer Love, because that's Charlie Wilson singing on Computer Love. A lot of people, that's as a matter of fact, it's Charlie Wilson and Shirley Murdoch.
Wow.
On that song. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. You talking about Shirley Murdoch being on that. We was like,
yeah. So people don't know that. That is such a classic. As soon as it comes on, she just start laughing. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, yo, I'll have her listen to the Skinny Boys or something from like 81. She like, oh, this is the worst. Like, but we do have, you know, she definitely stretched me internationally. I was into Fela and a couple different things, you know, the Bob Marley and stuff, but Nwasha speaks fluent Portuguese and she lived in Brazil. So like, I'm listening to a lot of shit. I don't even know what they saying. Like, it just sound good. Like, I don't even know what they talking. They could be saying any damn thing. I don't know what they're talking about. A lot of times when she tell me what they say, I love the song. Then she tell me what they say. I'm like, that's corny. You know? So, you know, but music is a big part of your love. Now, let me ask y'all this. When you did come together now, you're two musical icons, right? And so when you came together, was it like a career problem for either one of y'all? Like a music career, I'm saying, like entertainment career. Because Griff, I've seen you be busy all the time. And Solé, I've seen you, like in your bio, you say you stopped the music industry, but kind of like, I feel like you kept putting out albums. You know what I mean?
But I didn't. I left over 20 years ago and went down this journey of spiritual seeking.
Wait. Finish that. Something is bothering my spirit with somebody being at the door. Y'all, can you
go ahead?
Talk about that while you go.
Go ahead. Y'all both know kung fu and karate, so find out who that is.
Absolutely. But that leaving the music industry over 20 years ago to go down this path of spiritual seeking, I didn't put out any music that entire time. I actually didn't feel like I ever wanted to do music again at that point, because I was so disenchanted with the music industry. And then I was also, in my spirit, not wanting to contribute to the detrimental, damaging music that is pushed on quote unquote urban market.
Right, no doubt.
And I didn't want to participate in that any longer. And so I left the industry, went down this spiritual seeking journey. And then it wasn't until a few years ago, and probably about 5 or 6 years ago, that I felt that call, and Spirit was like, you can't let that project that you did in 99 be the only musical representation that you leave in the earth realm.
Right.
Because you've now gone and completely and I don't say became a different person, because it's not, I just remembered who I always was through
Right.
these various modalities of awakening, but blossomed into this being, having the experiences that I've had, and receiving the information, the teachings, the downloads that I received along this journey, that I had to share that, and not just through the teachings that I do, but also through music. And so I began working on the project that came out a couple years ago. So though it seems like, because that music is still there from then, I didn't actually do any music for 20 years that I not put out a project. And so
Right,
Griff
right.
was extremely instrumental in that, because he produced half of the project, and it was him
Right.
that actually continued to push me, because he's go, 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 very much linear, structured, masculine, energetic. Let's go, let's do it. And I'm like, oh, little falling play. Oh yeah, let's do it next. And very much in a flow, in a
Right.
super feminine, non-structured flow. And so it was his focus and determination for me to ensure that that was growing inside of me actually came to fruition. So
Right. Okay.
And I think we have to mention that we lost 3 people or 4 people during that process, like over that time too, up until recent.
Omar passed,
the
who
drummer,
played the drums live on the project.
Sam, Win.
Yeah, I think that's it. 3.
I think, yeah, we lost 3 people.
Transitioned.
Wow.
They worked on the project.
That's ill.
So now when we hear those songs, it's like, and then we see some of the footage, we like, wow. Yeah. That just lets us know that some of these things we have to do them in their own time and let them take their rightful place on a spiritual level.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, Soleil, what you was just saying was deep, because when I was thinking about what I remember about your earlier projects, I do see it as an extension of who you are, and not that you particularly changed, because your imagery when you first came out was much more ornate. You had the symbol, the logo, you know what I mean? Like it was much more ornate, and now you have seemed to totally mature and blossom in that style. It's not like you was like the Lady of Rage, and then you became something else. Like it's just like it evolved. And I think, knowing y'all and just kind of like watching it always seemed to me, but as you saying it, I'm thinking about like the projects. It always seemed to me that you were still involved in the music industry. And so when I was seeing stuff, y'all are a couple that we love. When it comes to Black relationships, we are really against celebrity couples, right? Not against them, but we tell every day, if there's a such thing as everyday Black people, that celebrity couples are not good to follow for 3 reasons. And you guys are not a representation of this. And that's why we love you so much. Number one,
we don't consider ourselves celebrities.
But a lot of people do consider you that. You know what I mean? So
and that's why it's not like being against a celebrity couple, because it's not the couple sometimes.
Right, it's not the couple. Right, it's what's put onto them, and putting them in a space where they're non-human when they actually are. But what we tell people is that celebrity couples, or celebrity people, are really narcissistic. because they focus so much on themselves that they can't really even really share in a love relationship, because the industry is so brutal. You have to be thinking about self and the next thing you're doing and how you're presenting yourself. So there's a indirect focus on yourself that makes you directly have an aversion to really the sacrifice that's required in relationships, and you got to do stuff you don't like because you love your partner and all of that, that kind of stuff. Artists don't do very well, and entertainers and athletes don't do well. Number two, because of their celebrity, whatever it is, they are disconnected from the masses of Black people. And so they don't really have the sensibilities that, they're Black people, they come from where we come from and all of that, but their lifestyle puts them in a box that is kind of like, if you live in that box for a long time, like 89, you've been Professor Griff since 89, some of who you are as a person gets not lost to you, but to the people around you can't deal with you anymore as a person. You're an icon, right? And so that detachment makes it not a good role model to follow. And then the final thing, which you guys really don't represent, which I love, many of the celebrities, the athletes, the entertainers work in the actual industries that oppress our people and send the messages to our people. So they, a lot of times by, consciously or unconsciously, are agents of that destruction. And so like, even so like what you were saying earlier, when you made a conscious decision to come back and rebalance some of the messaging that might have been misinterpreted when you were first coming out, that's dope. That's really dope. And so, with Griff, like, again, I think you all are the standard of the Rage Against the Machine. You know what I mean? I always feel like that group jacked your name too. I've been meaning to tell you that. I always feel like Rage Against the Machine was like Public Enemy fans, and they said, "Yo, we gonna this what we gonna do." So
no, but they admit that though. They admit they were public.
Oh, okay, yeah. I never heard that, but
no,
I always felt like that. I always felt like that. Yo, I was like, yo, this is a pseudo white Public Enemy right here. Like, you know what I mean? And that was a great name. But so anyway, so let's go back to the Soulmate story. So now, when did it actually happen for y'all, and who did it out of the two of you? Because we got a bet going.
Story you like to tell.
he got a bet going.
He created a story around what actually happened to this that he likes to tell. And then but before you tell, if you want to tell it, I just want to just touch on one thing really quickly that you mentioned about celebrity. And yes, it's so important to not pattern yourselves and your relationship in that way, but to point out that the focus is not simply on themselves as person, it's on themselves as persona.
Right.
The focus is not even on who they truly are at their core, but this persona that they've created and keep that alive. So that creates even more of a disconnect between within the relationship. Whereas Griff and he's always been true to who he is. Professor Griff is who he is.
Right.
So he lives that, what perceives to be a persona, but it's not. Whereas in a lot of celebrity, you see they've created this persona, but it's not really truly the essence of who they are, though they may begin to conform parts of their lives to reflect it, even the destructive parts, especially the destructive parts. Whereas you mentioned he's the enemy of Public Enemy. Let me not say what I was getting ready to say. No. I'm gonna reword it. He has kept the mission and focus that
I feel what you're saying.
And has
Absolutely.
not wavered from that path.
Absolutely.
He has been consistent, and
Absolutely.
that is what he stands on, and his word and his truth and being, and he has never wavered from that.
Absolutely.
And so I respect that greatly about him. And so there's not this persona, though people see this persona, this character, this larger than life figure, but it's actually who he is.
Right.
So so when I am when I stepped into this, I'm getting Kavan Shah, but I am getting Professor Griff because they are the same. So it's not
Right.
this character that he's created, though it is the character in its own sense, but he
Right.
is truly the character.
Right.
So, and then he is the same with me. As you said, I've just awakened that essence. So we both live our art. So we don't have to get on stage or go out in public and pretend to be something other than we are. So when we come in the house, we don't have to take that off either.
Right.
So there are some things that that, for instance, because he is a warrior. So when he comes home, he does have to consciously put the sword down so he don't chop my head off
or wipe the blood off of it.
He's
Yeah, at
right.
least, right?
But you know, but we are still, we live our art, who our work we actually live. It's just extensions of who we are, and not characters in a
Right.
you know. So
Right. So to answer your question very directly,
about how we about who made the first move.
well, I think during that
No.
period, because when we had the meeting at Dave and Buster's, when we decided to kind of just,
Well, you got to rewind before that.
yeah, I'm kind of leading up to that,
Mhm.
so you can take it from there. But something had happened. The gentleman in Dallas, Texas, who they blew up with C4 because
Right.
he shot 12 police officers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the picture that they dug up to put on CNN and to put out there was a picture of me and him.
I remember.
Yeah.
So doing that to him and trying to find my relationship with him, of course, you know, they doing the behind the scenes stuff by getting all my phone records and that kind of stuff and trying to figure out the communication. But there were none because I never really knew him like that.
Right.
Professor Smalls or Baruti. Professor Smalls was the one that took the picture.
Right.
We were just in Dallas doing a lecture, that kind of thing. A gentleman that came up, I admire you, blah, 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 whatever. We took a picture together, and that's the picture they used. So during that period, I got that phone call, a few phone calls from a few different people. I think it was the constant phone calls from my daughter that alerted me something is happening. I was out looking for doing real estate with some guy or something. And then what I did was I just kind of got out of town.
Right.
Laid low kind of thing. And I think I was always like leaving you messages and that kind of thing. And I think it was the message that you saw. And then she tried to get in touch with me. And then I'm like,
and well, leading up to that, so this
I'm
is
coming over. That's what you said.
no. We had, you know, as we said, we met in '89, but we weren't like in constant contact. You know, every
Right.
once in a while we would bump into each other at an
Right.
event, Black Radio exclusive, an award show, something. We would see each other occasionally.
yeah,
We'd
Soul
reach out
Train
or
was the Soul
text.
Train the musical when I was with Ludacris.
Yeah.
I saw
And
y'all
then even
right.
before that, I came to town, came to Atlanta with one of my daughters, and was like, "Oh, I have to
Right.
take you, bring you my baby to see you," you know,
Right.
things like that. And so, but in about 2014, he had reached out to me on Facebook just and said, "Was just checking on you, you know, peace fam, just checking in." I saw the message, and like 2 years later.
Wow.
What does this mean?
So 2 years later, in 2016, I was actually doing. So I was doing something with Queen Afua, and Queen Neat was mentioned Professor Griff's name. He was doing something or mentioned something, and I was like, "Oh, that's my brother. I love him. I haven't talked to him in so long. That's my brother." Didn't reach out. Just was like, "Oh," and then maybe a month later, someone mentioned him again. And I was like, "Oh, that's my brother. I love him. I need to check on him and see. I want to see if I can find his number." I went to Facebook and saw the message he had left me 2 years prior, just checking in. So I text him, was like, you know, just checking in, you know, it's blah, blah, blah. And this is why he mentions that story, because it was around that time where all that's going on. So he's thinking something's up. Like, who is this calling me, trying to act like I ain't heard from her in years now. All of a sudden, this is set up, blah, blah, blah. And so, so he's like, I don't think I know who you are. And I was like, I know you lying. This is you're from Kansas City. Like, I know you since 1989. He's like, yeah, I don't think I know who this is. Send a picture. So I was in my feelings, like he has lost his mind. Like, how you don't know who I am? Like, you know who I am. So I sent a picture and he says, I'm gonna call you from another phone.
Right.
And then he called me and was like, I reached out to you 2 years ago and you just now. And then it was crazy because we had just crisscrossed each other. He had just left DC and was flying back to Atlanta. I had just left Atlanta and was flying back to DC, and we had both just landed in the airports. And so that just began a conversation. We talked, we caught up, and then he was coming back to DC maybe a couple weeks. And so I invited him to come. You weren't able to come though, because I think you were speaking to the Capital Classics in China Open, because my daughter, we were competing in a martial arts competition, and he and I are both black belts. So he couldn't come, but we met for tea afterwards. I was like, you have to meet my other girls. You never met my two youngest daughters. So we met him for tea, and we sat and talked. No, we went to brunch first, and then the brunch place was closing, and we went to have tea at this little tea spot in DC. And we sat there and talked. And then afterwards, he walked us to the car and he gave me a hug. And it was kind of like, oh, like, what was that?
She said, now I'm grown.
Right. I was like, I'm all the way grown now. And so I had just gotten divorced like a year before. I had been divorced for about a year. And but I wasn't, looking to date or anything like that. It just wasn't that wasn't that. But we started talking on the phone every day. And about a month later, we went on a real date. You flew back to DC and we went out on a date. And it was really like after that first date, even after talking for that month, but after that first date, we really knew. We knew that this is when we started this our walking 4 seasons, that we decided we walked 4 seasons and got married right at the end of that 1 year of
So just two things. So we walked the 4 seasons and we did this thing on Facebook called the Morning Dance, because we
that shit was beautiful, yo.
Oh, thank you.
I
just wanted to mention that briefly, and then the other
thing I was about to mention it. She
left the date to go eat. She left the date. Let me watch my mouth. She left the date to go eat Love Crunch cereal.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
She's at home. She at home eating cereal. I'm like, yo.
Look, that is not true. He calls me the greedy vegan, but I do like to eat. But that is not true. That is not. I did go home to I went home for something. I don't even remember what I went home, because we were out hanging out, and then he was staying at a hotel in DC, in Baltimore, and I went home, and when I was home, I ate a bowl of cereal, but I didn't go home to eat a bowl of cereal.
The morning dance was a beautiful thing.
It was I think one of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen, where you guys were going back and forth with the songs and the poetry and I mean, I was telling Nwasha, I'm like, yo, and it's so funny because so many things, Solé, that you just described align with the stuff that we're teaching as we talk about, right? But I was laughing when you said, Griff was like, who is this?
Right?
Because you know the backstory behind that. When Griff was like, who is this?
Right.
And I was like, yo, Griff, I was just with you, yo.
It's really like we was all just together.
We just sat there and talked for like an hour, yo. And I'm like, I said, I know you, Professor Griff. But I just talked to you like 2 days ago, yo. Like, so I think that's beautiful. But another thing that you're talking about, so the artistry level on this morning dance, I really think y'all should do something with it. I really think that you should.
Do something
years ago we did.
Okay, yeah, because I mean.
But what do you think? But what are you thinking? Because
I think that you should publish it some kind of way. I
That was
think
the
that you
original
should.
idea.
that was the
That was the
idea.
original idea.
Yeah,
Well, that was
yeah,
not the original
because
idea. That was the after it came forth and we birthed that. Then it was, we felt like, oh, we should really, people kept asking for more. We should publish it as a
yeah,
book.
yeah. I mean, really, really, really. I mean, I know you both are artists, and I know how that stuff can pour out of you, but it is such a template of artistic expression, and especially for you, Griff. Like, you know, we look at you, we love you. So many of us have grown up watching you. To see you, I had told you when we was in Philly, I'm so happy for you. Not that I'm not happy for Soleil, but I'm so happy for you because what she described earlier about, yo, bro, you've been on the international front for 35, 40 years, swinging a blade, representing Black men as a warrior. But you also, to actually know you and talk to you, you also have a phenomenal sense of humor. And we can see now in your divine reflection that other dimension of you. And
Right.
so many people who respect you and use you and other people as a template, they really are coming home with their sword still out. And there is a transition process that we have to go through. Okay, I'm home now, let me put the warrior down. But for some of us, we were talking yesterday, they just always at war. And even the people they love, they cut them up because everything looks like an opponent. And to be able to have that discernment and that ability to say, yo, now I'm at home with my beautiful wife, your politics, your none of that changes, but you're able to adjust yourself and you can show the depth of your real personality as a real Black man and love a woman. And I think, Soleil, it's really dope that you said you took your daughters to meet him, because your younger daughters who didn't know him yet, because that says to me how much of an impression that he made for you. As therapists, we hear all the time, like, when should I let so-and-so meet my children? And I always say, as soon as you know that you really love them. You know, if people are like, oh, well, I don't know. The reality is people don't really know. But the other thing that I hear in your story, that I hear in every story, and everybody who's listening to this and who is going to hear this for perpetuity, when two people are divinely mated, I have never seen it take more than like 30 days for them to figure that out. Yeah. They know as soon as they get together, as soon as they get together. And if two people of your, I'm going to continue to say, I know you may not like the term, your celebrity, because a lot of people probably ain't walking up like, even if it was a lot of women out there who thought about Professor Griff, and I've been with you, and you're always very kind to the people. People don't feel like they have that kind of access to you. And Soleil, you're just a beautiful queen. So, you know, brothers have that thing, like, you know, I don't even think I should be able to talk to her. But if I see her somewhere, I ain't just gonna run up on her and try to take a bite. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, so for y'all to really come together and then say, boom, we going. And when I saw that morning dance, I'm like, yo, Nwasha, like, stop what you're doing, yo. They on some other shit. Like this is, we do in our book, we highlight couples from antiquity, right? Ursa Ma'asa Tepimra, Ramesu Mary Amen, and Nefertari Amen. They were doing what you guys were doing. That's why I'm saying, like, they came up with the term Neter Hedge and Neter Hemet, divine wife and divine husband. And they were talking to each other and writing this kind of prose. When I saw what y'all were doing, I'm like, this is that in modern times. So the reason I think you should publish what you were doing, because 150 years from now, somebody look back like, yo, this is the way you interface with your queen or your king when you're moving and you're busy and you thinking, I'm thinking out loud about you in public, and I'm giving an artistic spin to our love and conversation. hey, look, we took a couple of them things and, we had to go get busy off a couple of them things. Like, I'm like, yo, whoa, let's see. I'm like, yo, this is hot. Let's take this and, this is something we can take. We need this for something, you know what I mean? Let's take this and take it over there and go use it in the bedroom, So I think all of these things confirm to us. We know when we hear divine alignment. And I was telling y'all that when we were talking on the phone one day, like the alignment, I've always heard it in y'all. And we see that.
Something. I think it's really amazing when you find a personal purpose at a young age.
Yeah.
I think that reaffirms something within you, that you move through life in a way that's really intentional. And the challenge that we have now is, like when you were just talking about sometimes celebrity or being a product, it's difficult to live knowing you in your body is the representation of a product. It's actually very difficult.
Right.
And we're seeing that even people now who are kind of like modern celebrities, so not necessarily that you're even producing anything.
Like you got no fun, you got no talent.
But you just might be an influencer, or you just might have you might not even be making money, but you might have a lot of social currency. We see, again, as counselors, people have a hard time putting down their personality. Right? Putting down what is curated, even if it's not their profession, even if it's not really how they make money per se. It's just very difficult to let go of that.
Right.
And I think that when you are intentional and when you have love, as this greater divine kind of purpose that is almost oozing from you because of the space that you're in, it does give you, and anyone you share it with, it gives you a well-rounded example of how a person can be. Because when you meet someone, whoever it is, and this is something that all people need to know, you can meet someone who says that they are depressed, they can claim that. There are times that they still are going to laugh.
Right.
You can meet the saddest person in the world, and they're probably like a closet comedian, right? But a lot of times whatever someone presents, we polarize them. It's not even necessarily them doing it. So sometimes when you can say, hey, you know what, I'm used to living in purpose in many ways in my life. So when I'm presented with the opportunity to love, that's going to be intentional too. Even saying we're intentionally going through the 4 seasons and we're making some decision, or we're creating our own initiation after that walk of 4 seasons. This is what we're going to do. And to share that, I think that especially in relationships between Black men and Black women, those are amazing things to share. That's actually very generous of you, because you can, like, whether you are just a couple in the neighborhood or whether you're the most recognized couple, you can choose to keep that private, because it's such a sacred thing that's not necessarily respected of the journey, that I can see why people want to keep it guarded. But when someone offers to share, I think that this is the true inspiration, because we recognize it as the truth.
And it's really dope too. Some people share stuff and it's like, oh, that's cute. But when what y'all shared was so dope. I'm like twofold. I get inspired by anything that's the slightest love, because that's my focus. But then at the same time, it really takes something special to make me go like, damn, like I came to watch, like, yo, we should have did this. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was that level of inspiration. And it's so interesting that the way we have the Black Love School set up is by the seasons that we work. And Soleil, we, came last summer as a guest instructor and set it ablaze. And, we definitely want to have y'all to come back and do one of the classes in the Black Love School. But I just think, everything about that, I can't mention enough, and I will talk to y'all off camera. Don't let that fester. Right. That is really, really hot.
Right. Can I say no?
And it was organic.
Yeah, it was.
It was never planned. It completely came about organically, because every morning we would get up and dance in some type of way. And so then when we would be apart, if he was traveling with the Black History 101 Museum, I was in Thailand for a month and a half or wherever else we was at randomly in the world, we would still put that offering to each other online, sending those messages back and forth, like, oh, this is my song for the dance today, and this is, you know,
Right.
what it is. So it came about organically. It wasn't something we sat down and thought out. It
Right.
was just it was birthed out of something we were doing already, and then it just so happened we shared it online with each other as we were traveling. And it just, yeah, he had this idea all along of, after a while people started asking, just like you were saying, and how is it so beautiful, and we need more people sharing this, because there's so many examples of things falling apart, of things
Right.
unhealthy relating, that you don't get enough of seeing how to genuinely share. And then I think people were really, as you mentioned, um taken by this man who they see as so strong and so hard
Right.
and so masculine, be
Right.
vulnerable in love and
Right.
be hopeful to people that
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so that's how, so that idea came about. Other people suggested too, oh, you should do something with this. And he's a writer. He has 8 books, seven books. And it's like, let's turn it into a book. And he started pulling it together, and then life and the album and music, and we got busy doing other things. And so thank you for bringing that back around to us, because
Yeah.
to complete that.
Yeah.
Right. And I think because of that and a few other things, and the woman, and this is the first time she's hearing this, the people that I meet, especially women, they let me know their respect for her.
Right.
And I think that's their way of saying, you know, you were cool. I think you're kind of cute. You're kind of strong. You're a warrior,
Right.
but
You can't keep
you're queen.
Right.
And I think that's beautiful.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? I said, well, yeah, her Instagram page is yada yada yada. Whoop de whoop.
Right.
So, yeah, make it happen.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. Yeah.
I can definitely relate to that. It takes one to know one. You got a dime, I got a dime. You know what I mean? And I think what happens is, for men, our moral respectability, and it's very unique with you, because your cultural integrity has been unquestioned for like 40 years. But now I think you're even liberating. I don't know if you're recognizing how much of a leader you are in this space, because there are a lot of men, bro. I mean, Black men are essentially good, right? But we can't figure this relationship shit out. We can't figure it out as a group. When we see somebody who, as Soleil said, is such a pillar of warriordom, you know what I mean? This is a warrior. And he found not just like, oh, he found some other warrior. Now, Soleil is definitely a warrior. She's a black belt and all of this, but she is, what I love is that Nwasha has many sisters out there who we're saying our templates have the divine femininity of womanhood that is missing in a lot of women, because they're so hardened by their circumstance. So I'm not finger wagging at women. I'm just saying a lot of women have reacted to being alone, to being in an environment where they're by themselves. And so they've become naturally harder, and they lose some of their femininity. But to find a woman, for you to be with this kind of woman, I think makes such a statement. And we talk about relationship trinity, where she and he become a we, but they never lose their own identity at the same time. That's a hard balance, you know what I mean? Especially when you're living together and stuff like that. I think whether you guys are really conscious of it or not, you're doing that extremely well. Soleil has never been un-Soleil, and Griff has never been un-Griff. But then when you see the two of you together, you see an energy of each other that's like, it's really inspiring. You know what I'm saying? And that's why we wanted to have this conversation in public, because I'm like, dude, people been watching you for so long. I don't know if you know what you're doing for Black men right now. I don't know if you're getting it. I don't know if I'm doing this work out here, but you are a public enough figure that is saying, by my personal example, I have just freed a whole generation of men who want to be strong and want to be a warrior and want to have integrity and want to have cultural principles that they live by, but can have a really beautiful, dope, feminine, goddess type of woman. Because a lot of times, I'm telling you, because we counsel, a lot of brothers like you and sisters like her, they try to come together, but they can't get along because it's like, you two goddessy, and you two revolutionary professory. You know what I mean? And it's like, boom, boom, boom.
This brings us to the next question, because we're hearing a lot of how your life paths have led you on something similar or what you would have in common. But there is, of course, in eights, in the masculine and feminine, the polarity of our divine expression, where there is a challenge sometimes when you have a linear thought and a linear process, and you're ordered and diligent and a warrior. And then when you're more cyclical and, spontaneous and
abstract, right?
And abstract. And being able to be your real self and allow room for the other person is naturally going to lead to how you're different. So we want to know, what is something that you can think of off the top of your head that talks about what it is that you're really different in, and then how you deal with that.
What we're different in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so either by style or,
I think we're different in the idea of what it means when you say my approach. Like, for example, I was doing my podcast, my radio show, and a brother came on and he was disarming younger Black men.
Mm-hmm.
And that struck something in me. And then I had to come back with something so hard and so street just to balance that out. I'm like, not without hurting his feelings.
Right.
And then even after the show, I called him to kind of balance it out. I said, listen, man, I'm 2 conversations away from being a goddamn gang member. We're not doing that, man. We're not doing that soft kind of, you understand what I'm saying? I'm like, nah, bro, don't disarm the. So what I'm saying is our approach to whatever it is. For example, I had the honor and the blessings and the whatever else you want to stack on top of that, of sitting next to this woman yesterday, and she actually shared one of her formulas with me. I was like, all right, I was quiet about it, but I was like, oh shoot, I know how to make some herbs now, like, because I've been asking her since day one, let me come in the kitchen with you. I want to know how to make this, that, the other, in case, the soldier fall in battle, I can pick it up, grab your weapon, and keep pushing on.
Right.
That's the way I think. And I have to know I'm capable enough of taking care of this woman on every level. I got to know how to put the herbs together to heal. I have to know how to make vegan, whatever she be doing in the kitchen. I have to know.
Right.
And I was honored to sit next to her and kind of learn that yesterday. It really meant a lot to me. She don't know that because it's the first time she's hearing it.
Wow.
But it meant a lot to me because I have to be, in my being balanced, I have to know those things. So I would say my approach. What would you think the difference?
Yeah, definitely approach. I mean, we literally are the epitome of, he is extremely masculine linear, and I am extremely flowy, feminine, circular. And so we do and did help balance one another, because we were, polar opposites, yet mirror reflections.
Right.
Our approach is always, and that's beautiful, because he's going to always take a more linear, hard line, and I'm going to always take, I shouldn't say always, because it's never always, but predominantly feminine, softer, more compassionate approach to dealing with. And within my feminine flow, he's helped me to be more structured, and within his rigid structure, I've helped him to find more space and allow for that. And so I would say, yes, the same. And really quickly, just to go back a little bit of what you were talking about leading up to this, and other couples and having that struggle with coming together in that way, what really, we are so isolated right now. We're not living how we lived in ancient times, communally, tribally.
Right.
And we don't have the support of the elders and the community. Most people don't have that. Before we got married, we had the privilege to sit down with Professor Small, and he
Right.
asked us, and pose the questions to us. Why are we getting married? What is the greater purpose? And because when two people come together, I mean, a man and a woman come together, this is the highest alchemy.
That's
So
right.
we are taking two things and creating something else. So keeping and knowing and understanding that, yes, he is his own sovereign being. I am my own sovereign being, whole unto myself. He is whole unto himself. And now we have created this third thing that we have to nurture and nourish that thing.
Right.
And
Right.
that thing takes precedence over each one of us individually, if we want that to work. And it works when there is a higher mission other than, oh, you cute, we like each other. There's a greater purpose for the union than just, oh, some feelings and emotions that will consistently ebb and flow over the years, that will change, that will grow, that will deepen, but that inevitably change. And so having something greater than this thing that we've alchemized by coming together, that we nurture and nourish, this little thing that we have to hold like so precious, no matter, we don't always get it right. We're not always perfect. We seek outside support and counsel. We have shout out to Mama Maria, Maria Cambone, who married, who married us, and that we can call, and that they can support us in a way, and that they are praying and supporting us, and that we all are holding the greater mission, this thing that we have created in my little capota, this little thing, that you have to continue to water. And so I think that's a lot of the reason that even the coming together with these huge differences, that we finding the balance of remaining autonomous, remaining sovereign, but then nurturing and nourishing that whole thing as more important even than our own sovereignty.
Right.
But not to your detriment. So finding that balance.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of room when you have what seems like a really big difference. What seems like complementary energy. We always tell people that it's not really like opposites attracting, it's this complementary energy, but you're swinging your part all the way to one side and the other person is swinging their part all the way to the other side. And when you have, this is a time, I think, of self-forgetfulness and irony, because in the time that we can connect with so many people, it's a false sense of community, where we don't actually have the community that's supportive or that is accountable, but we just know a lot of people, or we can potentially, we don't even really know, but we can talk to 10,000 people at one time, 1 million people at one time, but we don't really feel that we, like you were saying earlier, can put all the things that we have put onto ourselves down and actually just be who we actually are. And in that, be accepted and loved, and have somewhere where we can go when it's real, right? Where we don't have to, again, hold up the persona or the product version of ourselves, but we can say, this is my goal. And even if I'm falling short of the goal, I need a word. I need some encouragement. I need an ear. I need a hug. I think space was the perfect word, because there is a knowing that you have to have as a man, knowing that you're creating space for a woman to feel free to be herself. But similarly, there's a woman who's even within your femininity, knowing how to create space without being defensive. Because a lot of times women, we're defensive when it comes to, here's this rigidness, or I do want to twirl around. And this person's like, did you get to page 300 of the book that we're supposed to be reading together? I am on 301. And I'm ready to
the living room.
And we have to be able to say, you're sovereign, and I don't have to be defensive in that. I can be myself and say, I'm going to bring it back around. Thank you for helping me be more linear and more, exact and more focused. But at the same time, this is the time just to twirl. So we'll get to the book next week or whatever that is. And this is really important, because people lose purpose.
Yes.
Even when they think they kind of have it, right? Without community, you need the reminder, just like people say indigenously, when someone is calling your name all the time, it's reminding you of your purpose.
Right.
Every time someone refers to you, it's that whisper that you got when you were an infant. And even before, when you were in the womb and someone was designing your name and designing your song that was going to be sung to you, these are the reminders that are speaking to your first self. When we don't have that, when we think you're just cute, and here's the glimmer of why I think I'm with you, but then what I'm looking at is telling me something different. I don't really have a friend that I can confide in because they're going to give me bad advice and I already know it. Or I don't have an elder. When I look at them, they're in their own issues and I don't feel comfortable enough to really go for support. These are, again, the things that are real in a relationship, you know, that we don't really get the chance to see because it doesn't, it speaks to the truth when you see it, when you hear it, you can feel that it is true, but it's just not what is popular right now. It's more entertaining to see things fall apart, or like you said, even encourage and be the isfit to try to make something fall apart.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's just more, I think it speaks to our movement away from divinity, right? And from, you know, putting things onto ourselves and feeling uncomfortable with that, to the point that we now look to do that on to other people. So this kind of like, I got to get this off of me, that I don't feel comfortable and I don't want anyone to notice that I'm not comfortable, or I don't know what to do in a relationship. So let me talk about somebody else's, or let me, you know, plant seeds of dissension instead of really knowing how to support. And it's not our fault, of course, because we are counselors. We know it's about responsibility. So I think it's really great that you're even saying, you know, this is an intention. We were walking in purpose. This is who we got to support us, and who after a ceremony like a wedding is still around to support the actual marriage, because this is something that we talk about all the time. Billions and billions and billions of dollars into something like Valentine's Day, billions and billions and billions of dollars into getting married, or I should say having a wedding, right? But not the, let's walk through 4 seasons intentionally. Let's have a marriage.
That's so dope.
And let's be able to know that we're choosing the right people who are human themselves, but the understanding about participating in the 4-season walk, in the wedding ceremony, is that we have you to come back to as part of the real journey. The journey is very much about the two of us, but it's also about community and this tribe that we're creating for ourselves.
And the court, that's what we talk about in the Black Love School, really develop when you're ready to, you know, we say courting, but people don't have a court. So to have people to, you know, and shout out to the Cambone family, we know them well. Shout out to Nataki, is supposed to be helping us develop I had a vision for a Hidden Colors of Black Relationships documentary, which I want y'all to be in, and where we highlight, that's what the soulmate stories that we started doing was based on. And so Nataki and I had talked about it, but the son and Baba Cambone, we spent some time with him down in Nation House in 2008 and had a good time with him down in DC. But you know, so shout out to their whole family, but just so many things, you know, that we knew from before we even started to talk to you all is resonating. You know what I mean? And there was so much alignment and so much, I wouldn't even call it attention to detail, but just alignment. You know, even when you're in alignment, some things may not go as planned, or hiccups may come, but you can tell the difference between somebody who's trying to plan every detail and somebody who's just in alignment. Because when you're in alignment, things just flow. Oh, like, oh yeah, this happened. And oh, somebody gave us a gift and this is what we're going to do. This is how this is going to flow. And oh, I couldn't make that flight, but you know what? Then this happened. And so it's just, again, I want to stress to you all that you are really representing something. And we had told you all the other day when we was talking, the reason that we are really looking to move this from a conversation to some unified work, because like I'm saying, Griff, you know, to Black men, one of the 3 things that I'm seeing as verifiable proof of our consciousness now is our health, because we die so much younger than our women. And many people your age don't look like you. You know what I mean? They don't have that well-being and that health, especially somebody who is on the forefront of, I was talking to you on the phone. He's like, shit, I get a lot of death threats. I'm like, damn, that's how you answer, So for you to have that kind of stress, and I know you're a legendary martial artist and all of that stuff, but to have that kind of stress and still look good, skin good, black don't crack.
This man is
You know what I mean?
61.
Good black don't crack. You ain't always I tease Nwasha. I'll be like, yo, do I have a 6-pack or a keg? To not have a keg, you know what I'm saying? All of those things, that is amazing. You know what I'm saying? And you would have to tell someone a lot of times when you see couples, you're like, oh yeah, your ass really older than her. Y'all got to tell people that. You know what I mean? You got to say that. And I'm sure for people who know you might have figured out that there's some slight age difference, but you can't see that age difference when you look at you. So that's great. So I think health is one thing. I think our ability to stay financially free. I think you have also led in a blueprint of that, because you talking the hardest stuff in the world that the enemy shuts down, and you've been able to maintain it, through the years. I've seen many brothers who were in the realm of hip hop like you will see them Friday night doing their thing, and Sunday you see them at the grocery store bagging groceries. And it's no disrespect in that. That's beautiful. If you have that dichotomy to be able to pick this down, put this down and pick that up, but you've been able to maintain a certain level of freedom. So the economic sensibilities are there. But then the final thing now, so we got health, economic liberation, and now there is no nation building without family. There is no nation building without the relationship, because many people who grew up at a time we I can't say another word other than idolize many men. And I tell people as a therapist and the work that I do, when you look at the Farrakhan's, when you look at whoever it is, all of these great people that we look up to, they all got a queen. But many of the people who emulate them don't have that part. You know what I mean? They take the lessons and they take they polarize the man, the message, but they're not really understanding the balance of the man. And so when I see that, I'm like, okay, dude had like an 8.5 out of 10. Now he's a 10. Now he's a 10, because he's maintained so long. But now you're showing sisters as well. You're showing, and Solé, you're showing it, but Griff, you're showing sisters as well that you can be what I call these spiritual goddess butterfly types. You know what I mean? And let me just say, Solé, you and I have talked several times. For as whimsical and all of that you are so grounded in real principles. And we talked about a few weeks ago, spirit likeness that's out here. People think they could wrap up like Nwasha Solé, put something on their pineal gland and fly out, and I'm just a goddess, oil up and spray down, and I'm a goddess. And it ain't that, you know what I mean? You really living by something. And so I just think, man, like, yo, if this is what I'm on. I think Griff, I told Nwasha like about 4 years ago, I was like, yo, I was talking to Griff and I was telling him about the idea we had. I gave him the Comedy book, and I said, he walked up to like about 15 feet. I think I saw him throw that shit in the garden. No. I was like, yo, we better call Solé. It's like, we ain't gonna get through this because I'm like, yo, he ain't trying to hear that shit. Valentine's Day. All right, brother. All right. I said, no, bro, it's the alternative to Valentine's. It's the cultural revolutionary alternative to Valentine's. I have a hard time trying to push a pink book on brothers. You know what I mean? Griff was in our, the last time we were in Philly, you were in our workshop because you were doing something. I think you were setting up in the back of the room. It's like, what, like 4 years ago now. And I think afterwards, Griff said, oh, okay, I get it now. Like, I see. He's like, yo, official now. Like, yo. I was like, that's what I'm telling you. I'm like, we already talking to Solé. We got to, no, bro. Come on, man. I know the book pink, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the consciousness is there. So, you know, I just really, really love and respect what y'all are representing. I think that it is really, really, with all the great things you're doing, and you're doing phenomenal things, I think you are liberating so many people. So many archetypes of personalities can find themselves in this beautiful representation of love. That thing that y'all doing, that dance that y'all did, I'm telling you, it's some next level. It's like glyph writing, put it on a wall, carve it into a pyramid, produce it. I'm telling you. We'll talk about it later, but I just want to, as we start to wrap up the close, I just want to say that this has been a really, really beautiful talk for us, because we really see a likeness. And I got lost in some of my questions because you answered like 4 of them before we even asked it. You know, it's like, damn, I'm checking off right here while you're talking. I was like, oh, that's the question. Damn, that's that question. That's that. So, you know, I really sense that alignment there. But I just want to say to y'all, keep doing what you're doing. I know a part of your relationship has to be intimate and only for you, but the rest of us are getting full off your love. We're eating off your love. And that is so important in a time where there's so much hate, where 8 out of 10 of us can't get relationships. And that really makes you psychologically different when you don't have a consort to come home to when you out here in this crazy world.
Right.
And it's so difficult for some people to do it. For people to see people who it should be extremely difficult do it to do it so seamlessly, it gives everybody inspiration. And that's why we wanted to really have y'all on, for people to see, you know, y'all on some next level. So salute to y'all. You know what I mean? That's my closing thought. So what's your closing question? Because they answered like the last 4 or 5 questions.
Well, this year we were talking about, you know, with S.O.U.L.MATE Day, we typically have a kind of like a theme for the year. This year past in February, we're talking about how people keep their love decolonized, because we know, like, our language, even when it comes to celebrating holidays and getting married, we have an influence that is not an original influence. It's not, or I should say, it's not our or the original influence. And it kind of seeps in when you're just talking to each other, or you're looking for how to connect and how to be intimate. So we wanted to ask you, what are ways that you keep, you know, your love
Black.
Yes, like really from an indigenous perspective, because sometimes that's easier to do, as you said, sovereign in yourself, to be like, hey, this is just what I'm on. But our programming about love is so old. So it can be our fairy tales or our parents again, or, you know, those key decisions you don't even realize that you made when you were like 5 years old, 7 years old. It creeps back in again subconsciously with your expectations of each other, or of the third thing again. Like, what is my expectation of being married? And even being married like this time, having been married, right? So how do you keep it all Black and original?
I think pulling from the center of what we know to be our consciousness, I think it's important to kind of, and you know, you might even disagree, but redefining the language of love.
That's
I'm
it.
gonna leave that there for a second, let it marinate. So we have to redefine it, because I've said it several times. I said, that's my language. I tickle. I have a comb for her hair. It's a little tiny comb for a baby. It's for a baby hair. But I think it took her a minute to say, you know something, as hard as this dude is, okay, I get it.
Right.
Yeah, that's his language. I probably never heard that language before. I've never seen that language, but we have to learn one another language of love after we put it in place. Now, you got to carve away and cut out that other language that we so accustomed to seeing on these love stories and movies,
Right.
hearing about. We got to do away with that. That's not this whole, every movie you see it. They
Right.
have that attraction for one another, but they have to do some work and they yada, yada, yada. And he ends up picking her up, slamming her against the wall and having sex. And I
Right.
guess that's the ultimate. No,
Right.
that's violent. That's damn near rape. So I'm
Right.
saying that's their language. That's not our language. It's definitely not my language.
Right.
So my language is something that you have to grow to kind of understand in my warriorness.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? You have to say, okay, I see why he does that. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? And it could be different from each individual. So the question now becomes, can you reintroduce me to a language that only I can kind of resonate with? You understand what I'm saying? I don't want the language you had with whomever, your ex,
Right.
or before him or whatever. I want it uniquely for us.
Right.
What is our, like, it's almost like when no one is watching and listening and no one's around, what do y'all call one another?
Right.
That right.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? We have
Yes.
nicknames that we don't mind saying in front of the children, but we say things to one another we don't want anyone to know and hear. That's ours.
Right.
That's
Right.
part of the language. But my
Right.
thing is, the language is being interrupted by a negative sexual vibratory frequency that we don't even understand. You understand what I'm saying? It may come from songs we listening to.
Absolutely.
Keep sweating in the middle of the damn day. It could be different things. You understand what I'm saying? This is why what you said, King, is really important about not having that celebrity thing influence
Right.
who we are as individuals, as far as how we relate to one another. I don't follow them. You understand what I'm saying? What I'm trying to focus in on at this particular point, at 61 years old, is trying to get her to understand this new language of love that I'm even understanding at 61.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So I can ask men, well, when's the last time you danced?
Right. Right.
When's the last time? And we all understand bringing flowers home when it's not even her birthday or the anniversary. That's corny as hell.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But how about when no one's watching, no one's listening, it's only strictly between you and I.
Right.
What of those things? What is that language? You understand what I'm saying? And it's on different levels. It's spoken. It's felt when you're not even talking. It's when unguarded moment when you don't even know she's looking and watching.
Right.
But she's picking up the energy. It's
Right.
all of those things.
Right.
That's part of the language. Could you add on to that?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Everything that you said. And for me, we look at the overculture and the overculture. What is this overculture of get mine at any cost? It's about me, this American dream, which spills over into relationship and how we relate to one another. So people tend to come into those relationships when we're under this overculture and outside of our own indigenous cultures with that same attitude carried into relationship. It's about me, got to get mine at all costs, make me happy. So we go into relationships seeking someone else to make us happy when we are ultimately responsible for our own happiness.
Right.
And no one, even your divine consort, can make you happy. So you mentioned wellness being a pillar, which is so important in number one, because your wellness on every level. So decolonization in the sense of prioritizing your own personal wellness for the benefit of all of creation. Right. So beginning with yourself, spilling out into your relationship. So resourcing, finding ways to be well on every level is one of the most beneficial things we can do, not just for ourselves, but well spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, and being able to self-resource so that you're not seeking outside of yourself and placing unrealistic expectations on your spouse that they may not, again, may not be his language, may not be their way, may not be what she knows and understands or wants to do. And it's not his responsibility to make me happy. It's not my responsibility to make him happy and fulfill him, but for us to fill our own cups, to self-resource so we come to one another fully whole.
Right.
And looking at what can I offer as opposed to what can you give me.
Exactly.
And so this, you know, this over culture that we live in prioritizes that. What can I get? What you gonna give me? What am I gonna get out of it? What you bring into the table? Not how can I fully self-resource come and serve you and bring this, you know, and what can I offer to you in return, not knowing that the more I pour into him, fully resourced is resourcing him, he as he self-resources to pour back into me. So not having these expectations of what should be, what this culture says we should do romantically.
Right.
If you took sex out of the equation, would you still get along?
Right. That's what we always say.
Right.
I think you read that book. I think you read it.
Right before he threw it.
You digged it out the garbage. You dug it out the garbage and you read it. You read it?
Oh my goodness.
He put me on the spot now. He said you went and did a speed read, man.
Yeah, word up.
So
was you finished?
But true, yeah, but not just the last piece of that, and understanding that we are different. We are different. Men and women are different, no matter how much it's politically or in this Americanized, westernized culture to say, oh, we're all equal and men and women can this and that. No, our brains are wired differently. We respond differently, and we put these expectations on one another that, you know, women tend to expect men to be big muscular women and respond the same way, and we expect them to respond how what we should be taking to our sisters to assist us with, and then we get mad when they don't out of expectation because we don't understand one another. We don't understand each other, that we have different wiring, and then we don't understand each other culturally because we have been so conditioned by a culture that is not indigenously ours and that is inherently destructive. And so decolonizing in that way, in those ways of one, going outside to our community, to our elders who can hold us up, not thinking that, oh, you know, even that idea of in the West of you separate yourself, you get married, you go live your own little family and everybody stay out of our business. That's our business. It ain't nobody else's business. And it's like, no, that's not our way.
That's not our way.
And so
we just said that last night.
Some of the ways that, you know, we keep our relationship, even down to our ceremony we didn't have a traditional, and we didn't think about going to spend a ridiculous amount of money to impress people. You know, we had a cultural celebration of love. And but it begins with just your everyday way of being, and then which changes your way of relating. And coming out from under that, the poison and toxins of this overculture and what we deem to be romantic and our expectations of one another, because we're often thinking too much from another that we should be able to self-resource and then come together, you know, to create that third thing and nourish that.
So the language is very important. And then sometimes it's language spoken that only the spirit can pick up and understand. And we have to be very mindful of that, because we tend to take on other people's way. You understand what I'm saying? Without on a subconscious level. And then that comes across, and it's almost, it's really destructive, especially when you hear some of them songs, Queen. From your era.
And it is subconscious, right?
Yeah, the program.
These are the things though, that just like those, I'm going to say I'm a lover of myth And I've always been that way. I know all of the fairy tales as they were introduced to me as I was younger. As a person who understands the mind now, I see the greater symbolism and can make the connection to more indigenous stories.
Yeah.
But music, poetry, myth, those are things that speak to you in greater symbolism. And we don't always understand when we're listening to something that it's programming an aspect of us that is almost, again, automatic. So when we do go into relationship, or we are triggered by the music that we used to listen to, that is part of our soundtrack of how we first, like you were saying, the teen years, when the bud of love comes to you, it's very much attached to the music. You can remember what you were doing, what you were wearing, how you felt, where this is an anchor to an emotional part of yourself. So it is really important to be thinking of what's feeding you, what is feeding you, what's your spiritual nutrition, your emotional nutrition on top of your physical nutrition, because
Absolutely.
I think that is how you actually decolonize, is be yourself.
Right.
Right.
Become yourself.
As much as you can, in language, in diet, in purpose, is really be yourself.
In all of those arts that you mentioned. So we've gotten programmed through childhood with these fairy tales that set up often unrealistic expectations. So it's important to go back and find, because myth is powerful. And I'm saying with you, myth and poetry and storytelling and art in those ways. So going back and finding those indigenous stories and myths that you can hold on to and bring that in as a representation of, or an ideal to aspire to within relationship, as to opposed to what has been imprinted on us as we grew up in this society. So it's very important. When we counted last count, we had over 2,000 books in our house at last count. So we got library.
2001. There's
that little pink one.
2003, because Amazon should have just dropped me off a battery. But it's important.
I'm about to send both of y'all 2 new copies. I'm about to send both of y'all 2 new copies.
Well, nothing speaks to us like symbols. I think that nothing really speaks to you as a human being, even when we have these languages, and we have the literal language, or the again, misnomer, so-called standard way of communicating, but we do have the unspoken. We do have so many other things, and what we do when we come together also becomes the inside jokes, or the greater symbolism, or the nicknames and all of those things. One word, one phrase, one moment, the way that you communicate it can mean 1,000 things. Like we say about it's engraved in stone, or it's meta-net, or this idea that this one thing can symbolize so much. This is really where you're having your ritual and your ceremony. That's a higher way of communicating, and a way that you're speaking. And this is why we like to have these conversations, because it's a way that you're kind of reflecting on one of the most important things, which is love for yourself, love of another person,
absolutely,
love of the thing that you are putting together, because it takes an amount of attention, entertainment, nourishment of this precious thing, right? Just like our children, it's this other thing outside of myself that I know will live beyond me, because people are affected by what they see in me, even strangers. And even the person who feels that they are not an influencer, not a celebrity, someone is always watching you when you move around the world. Someone is looking for are you happy? Or does it seem that you are on, your assignment? And even when it doesn't seem like it, they're feeling the energy, or taking in the unspoken kind of communication. And we always love to ask people, what is that one thing that you would kind of say is your, not advice, but your understanding? What would you tell someone who is coming into wanting to find their soulmate, or who thinks that they met them, but just some piece of advice, some piece of wisdom, some piece of your perspective gained through your experience, that you would say is something people should be mindful of as they navigate the relationship space?
I'd say, why do I always speak first? But anyway,
because you do so many interviews, it's always you do way more interviews than I do.
think, just personally speaking, I think I've had to learn how to listen with the heart instead of the head.
Mm.
If I say any more than that, I'm gonna mess this up.
No, brother.
Let me throw the
Good.
Akoma, the heart up. Let me throw one of those up because
Bro, let me tell you, bro.
wow, that's a great one.
I'm telling you. I'm gonna say something after Solé. Go ahead, Solé. What would you say? That was an atom bomb.
Yeah. For me, it would be to, before coming into relationship, the importance of coming into the highest state of wellness that you are capable of in this lifetime. And that doesn't mean being perfect before you enter relationship, but as I mentioned before, being able to fully self-source, self-resource, especially for women, because we tend to reach outside of ourselves and grasp and claw outside of our feminine essence, which is softened back and magnetizing. But because of how we have been conditioned in this culture, we're up out of ourselves trying to get and code on and so being able to fully ground, being fully grounded and stable. When we're grounded, our destiny is able to find us. We don't have to go out seeking,
That's right.
searching, grabbing, clawing to get what's ours. We magnetize what is ours to us. So grounding, stable, and fully self-resourced, so that we don't put unrealistic expectations on another that is coming into this space, but instead we're two whole, holy, sovereign, sacred beings coming in now to create sacred life, sacred ritual together without needing something from one another, if that makes sense. You know, not needing and needy, but complementing one another. And so working on yourself first before, because we're often out looking for someone else to complete us, as opposed to being fully resourced before we come into union. So he and I were both fully resourced in the sense of knowing who we were, solid in our knowing of who we are, and then able to come in and complement one another. And I think that is part of the reason that we are able to, even as things arise in the relationship, that we're able to navigate them, because we are both so fully grounded in who we are, fully resourced in who we are, that we are not like, oh my God, I'm gonna completely fall apart. I always say all the time, he can do whatever he want to do. Don't mean we don't stay together if he does, but he got the freedom to do whatever he want to do. I have the freedom to do whatever I want to do. We have the free, we're not, you know, it's so being fully, and then having a deep amount of respect for yourself, having standards and holding yourself to them, being respectful and respectable within the container of what we have created. But that begins with your own initial wellness, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally grounded. So again, you don't go put unrealistic expectations on the partner that you magnetize to you, because we really will magnetize to us at the energy level that we are operating on. And so if you are broken, if you are depleted, if you are not resourced, then you're going to magnetize to you. You're going to magnetize to you that same energetic level, person operating on that same energetic level. So we want these high frequency, high vibratory relationships. But if we haven't come into the fullness of who we are, if we haven't been able, and again, that doesn't mean we're at the end. We're constantly growing. We're constantly, this is a journey. This journey doesn't end here. We're still going to grow and change and evolve and learn. And the more we do, the more we know how much we don't know. You know, the more we go on this path, the more it's like, I don't know a doggone thing. But
we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. So many things you just said. I want to say this to y'all. You know, I know this won't be missed by y'all, but there is a universal science. There's a universal artistry. There's a universal energy that resides above commonality. Most artists can tap into it to pull down inspiration to create. when you see something that is timeless, and Nwasha was describing those kind of battles and difference of opinions, and I was like, damn, she describing what happened with us last night. but when we read a relationship book, a culturally based relationship book, and it's only like 4 of them, that's good. But when we read one, we always say, oh, we wrote that. Like we wrote it because we're resonating on that frequency. And many of the things, I swear to you, many of the things that you're saying is literally in the book that we wrote. So you actually wrote it. Like there is a consciousness that is above the temporal being. It is above this incarnation of divine that we call Kavan or Aja or Nwasha or Montsho. It is above that. We are pulling from it to be the animated personality or soul that we're saying that we are.
Right.
When you resonate with somebody and you recognize, as you two said extremely well, I know you. That is in the ancient African story of soulmates, that you knew each other in the spiritual realm. So you recognize it and you're like striving to align with it because it's in a package that you may or may not be familiar with on the surface level. But so much of the stuff that you're saying is what we say, what we teach, what we've been on for like the last 21 years of this journey that we've been on together. And so much of your story is similar. Blending families, age difference, meeting back and forth, coming, it's just so many things. But I really want to stress to y'all, we tell every couple that you have a child. Now, I know you both have children, but when a couple comes together, they're creating a third thing. They are creating what is actually a child that goes to the spiritual world of the people that they represent. Right. So this child is an agent of your love. And I'm telling you, I'm looking at it. You got this spiritual, revolutionary, purpose-driven child that is emanating from the relationship that you have. And that's why I've been, for the last 5 years, I'm like, yo, we could bond, we could kick it, we could talk, we could hang out, but we got to do some shit together because y'all are in a vein where you might not be focusing on that per se, but you are, they say that the Medu Netter and many of the Sanskrit and all that, it's not a evolutionary language. It came intact. Yeah. When you look at the Adinkra symbols, when you look at around the diaspora, Black people said, oh, those symbols came here with us. They've always been with us because they are an outward manifestation of abstract principles in a symbol. So we didn't create it. We're just manifesting it. It always was, always will be, right? It's no birth or death record. When you tap into something like what you got, that's what you emanate. It's a timelessness. And I'm telling you from our personal experience, just to work, all you're doing now for the rest of your life is catching up to it and deciphering it and dispensating it however you desire. So that dance was one, like you just said, oh, that just came natural. And I'm telling you, you writing something that's on the eternal level, like the ancestors wrote on the walls 6,000 years ago. You're like, oh, yeah, it's just something we was just talking to each other, and we just started talking live. And the more you do like that, I think you may have stumbled into a lane that you didn't know you was in. But you rocking with me, you in the lane now. I got you now. You in this lane. But we definitely are honored to talk to y'all. We respect y'all so much. We just thank you so much for sharing.
That advice that you gave, flawless.
Yeah.
I get the head.
Yeah.
Because that's really,
I'll tell you what page it's on.
If people can do that, if people can listen from the heart, and people can look and say, I myself want to be as whole as I possibly can every day, all of my relationships would be better.
Yes.
Like truthfully, from the stranger, from the person on social media, from your family, from your, children, your divine partner. If you can really say all the stuff that is programmed here, I am not going to lose it, but I'm going to focus on my soul, my heart space to understand you and listen to you.
Right.
And I think this is the perfect balance of masculine and feminine advice, right? This is the truth of, as much as I've cultivated my mind in this intimate space, let me shift to choose to focus from the heart, and that not be considered a weakness in any way, but an actual strength. And let me say, as much as I want to nurture and love and share that part of myself, I'm not looking to go get something else first. I'm really looking to be as whole as I can, as certain as I can, as solid as I can, and have standards. And then who I would magnetize would be at a higher vibration. So much of what would actually happen in a relationship, you're going to have to cultivate it. You're going to have to still work the land, of whatever it is that you're seeding. But if you could do those things, the work would be much more pleasant. The work would be much more fulfilling, and the work would actually bear the better fruit that you need. So I hope that, I know we're talking and laughing and having a good time for most of the conversation, but that last bit, when this is done, you need to rewind and really take that in and see if you can put that into practice today. Like in your next couple of conversations, can you listen from the heart? For the rest of today, can you say, let me be more whole and healthy myself before I point out some flaws in somebody else, before I tell somebody else what they need to do to be better? Can I actually focus on myself today for the rest of the day and tomorrow and make myself more whole? That is such a game changer. And I just wanted to say, and I know because we're coming to the end of the conversation, that is perfection. And I think that you come to this when you do work on yourself, and you come to this when you're honest in love, you're naturally going to come to the wisdom. But when you can see it and hear this part of the love conversation, it's so important, because it's the truth, it's the art and the science. Like we always say, it's the, what really is going to resonate with you and last. Some of the other stuff, we know it's not real, but it's all over the place. When you hear the truth and see the truth and live the truth, then you have the proof that this is the truth. Nobody else has to, ring the bell. You're like, instantly that resonates with me. Instantly, if I embody it, it resonates even more and becomes that unspoken language that other people can acknowledge as well.
So we salute y'all. I know how real it is. I know how hard it is. Y'all gave us a lot of y'all time. We're going to talk after this. We are releasing the dates of the retreat. But we got some ill, like what we was talking about the other day. We gonna talk to y'all because we got some ill stuff. This is, I think, a birth moment for the four of us. A Super Friends collaboration. Because I'm telling you, we got them advanced degrees. They don't mean shit. We're therapists. You know what I mean? And all due respect to all the therapists out there, but I talk to a lot of people who don't have what you have. You know what I mean? And as cultural initiates, we want to, whatever we do, we want to have a cultural base in our language. There's over 400 words for expressions of love in indigenous Black languages. So you should never say romantic. You should never, whether it's your diet, the way you move, like you said, we move a certain way. So we do word purge, word cultivation. We do holistic health. We do just the like you said, the celebration of love. We talking about the art, which is the approach, which is the philosophy, or what we commonly call the why. We talking about the science, which is the methodology, the technique, or what we call the how. So we're teaching the art and science of Black love culture. And we're really, really looking to build, as I was saying to y'all the other day, a global community, because we are going to be the citadels. We are going to be the lighthouses as it gets darker and darker and darker. People need to say, oh, over here is this couple, over there is this couple. And they are, whether they're consciously aware of it or not, they're showing us the way. Because if Black people give up on love, it doesn't matter how many books you read or how many other things you did. if you don't have the gas of love to propel this collective body, we'll fall by the wayside because empirical information is not enough. And so y'all embodying that so dopely that, you know, this is divine order. And we always say the last one was the best one. This is the best one. This is the best one that we've done. You know what I mean? And so don't disrespect to all the other people. We love y'all too. But yo, I appreciate y'all so much, man. And we're gonna talk later. You know, we'll talk to y'all about all the details later.
So thank you so much for your time.
Oh,
If there's
big
anything
thanks.
that you want to say, if there's
Anything y'all got going
on.
on? I know y'all got so much stuff going on.
Yeah, Everlasting Life, January 15th, 2022. We're doing
is Landover, Maryland. What city is Capitol Heights?
Capitol Heights, Maryland.
That's my
Okay.
favorite restaurant.
Right. We're doing Warrior in a Garden.
As we
That's Al Kemar and them.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the spot. Yeah, we're
Okay.
doing a masculine feminine lecture called Warrior in the Garden. So he's talking
Okay,
about
we're gonna try to make that.
I'm talking about developing an urban tactical mindset in order to, you know, to cultivate and secure not only ourselves, but our mate, our family, and then our community, and then building a nation. Because one of my ultimate goals is we have to be able to get brothers to go on these retreats so we could just men sharpen men. So
Now,
did I strike a
last
nerve?
night.
What happened?
Last night, we talked about it for what, like
Okay.
2 hours? For like 2 hours, we
Right.
talked about it.
Right.
So I said, look, we gonna get with Griff Solé while the women are over there doing a
Right.
retreat. Men will come on the retreat if they women over there on a retreat. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
I'm saying like we Maladoma Some and a couple of other people, but all the grandmaster teachers, I don't really know a man who can call men to a
But
retreat.
now is the time, you know.
Right now is the time, right, sis?
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
Warrior in a Garden, January 15th, Capitol Heights, Maryland.
That's dope.
You know, and what else do you have coming up?
Well, I'll be sharing during the Warrior in the Garden lecture. We'll be talking about for the sisters how to retain your feminine essence within this fight, and how to support the warrior, or how when you are the warrior, how to be that feminine warrior coming from a place of love, not from a place of aggression, but awakening the wisdom on the inside. So it came about from the quote that it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And so we are, it'll be a beautiful masculine feminine dynamic in that. And then I have I teach a 12-week course twice a year. So it begins in March. The next 12-week series is called Embodying the Goddess, a Return to Sensuousness and Embodied Love. So it's for women to awaken their deepest feminine essence, to reconnect to their deepest feminine essence and awaken the wisdom on the inside, cultivating a heart of love. And that begins in March. So that's all at goddesstempleoflove.com. I have a retreat coming up in December, but it's sold out. We'll be in Hawaii doing a mystical dancing yogini retreat in Hawaii. It's about 20 sisters coming together on the Big Island. So the next retreat will be in June, but we're also planning on being with you all in February.
Yeah. Oh, we got the illest shit for y'all. It's coming. We gonna put the flyers out today, but we gonna call Soleil and tell her to call Griff. I'm gonna have Nwasha call. Like, who is it?
Yeah, you might want to call me.
Yeah. But let me.
I just answered more now because I got I like the number in.
Let me just say though, Griff, I don't know if you saved the number or not. I was in the room one day. I was like, "Oh, this is Griff calling." Like he either it's a wrong number or he. And he was like, "Oh yeah, brother, I'm responding to the conversation from like 6 months ago." So ever since that day, you've been extremely on point. So let me just say that you've been calling.
And then when he realized who was actually calling,
right?
Because I'm telling you, I joke and call him Mayor Griff all the time. Because everywhere we go, everybody's like, like everywhere we go. So and then he's on the like everybody knows him. He knows everybody, and he's like, "You remember such?" I'm like, "No, who is that? No, you know too many people. I don't know." So as soon as he didn't realize who it was calling the first couple times.
Yeah,
And
I'm
so
like,
that he knows that,
Right.
and he does
yeah,
have it.
yeah, bro. That was hilarious to me. I'm gonna never let you live that down. That's funny.
Right?
So
That's
that we
funny to me.
want people to understand that moving forward, we have to move as a team, according to
Yes,
Chuck D. Move as a team, never move alone.
that's
Welcome
right.
to the Terror Dome. But anyway,
Oh
we have,
yeah, bust it. Hey,
we
that
gonna buy him
just
a
spawned the
hip-hop book,
question.
Right.
Did
because he
y'all
got the
ever have a
slang down.
battle
He let
in the
us go.
house?
Huh?
That just spawned the question. Did y'all ever have a battle in the house? Two MCs, two martial artists.
Oh, he can't see me on the hip hop on the.
Ah!
No, I can't. No, she's probably a lot better than I am as an MC. But that martial arts, yeah, nah, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm nice with mine. I'm sorry. I'm just, yeah, no.
Look, now,
Oh man, we
now
love y'all, man.
he's nice with his. He's nice with
Yeah.
his, but I'm nice with mine too. But
Oh,
But you see,
man.
that's what we're gonna demonstrate on in our lecture.
Right.
We're gonna balance it out. We're doing live demonstrations of some things.
Oh, that's
And then we're
beautiful.
gonna ask the audience to get up and dance with us. Let's go.
That's beautiful.
You understand what I'm
That's
saying?
beautiful.
We're gonna be there.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely come down.
Yes,
We're gonna definitely come
yes.
down.
All right,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, y'all. We love y'all, man. We appreciate y'all so
we
much.
love
you
y'all.
too.
We love y'all
Thank
so
you
much.
for the time and spending so much time with us. And I know that I'm gonna share this like 900 million times. So yeah, thank you so much. We'll hit y'all up soon.
Okay.
Y'all be good, and we'll talk to y'all. Nia Coma.
Yeah,
All right, good,
and
thanks.
we want to just like, this is my, I do classical, this classical form of Indian dance, and so this is Pushpaputa. I'm offering y'all the flowers. I'm offering y'all's flowers because we love you so
Right,
much, and
good,
we
thanks.
talked about us, but I really do want to say, it really is not too many couples that we can look up
Right.
to, and then just really honor the work. And you all stand in the deepest, highest integrity and operate from a heart of love. And I am so grateful for the work, and I want to give y'all your flowers because I'm not in person when I'm there to see you. I'm gonna give you the flowers, but
Right.
because we really do hold you all in the highest regard, and your work is so phenomenal. What you're doing with the Coma Day, the Black Love School, it is so powerful, so needed. And so if nobody else honors you, I'm like
Right.
bowing
Oh, man,
to you,
thank you so
honoring you
much.
for your work, and praying that it continues to bless every single person that steps into that space online, that is blessed to step into your presence, and that you continue to be fortified and strengthened on every level, on every fort, so that you can continue to pour and bless, and that you be blessed tenfold for what you pour out.
Right.
So we love you.
Oh
so
man,
much.
that's
Love you
oh
so
yeah,
much.
we received that. Y'all be well. We'll talk to you very soon.
All right.
Mm.
All
All
right.
right.
Peace.
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 Peace.